Here are 10 LEGO Star Wars builds that you can make with these LEGO sets. You see, back in the good old days when LEGO sets promoted creativity, there were multiple ways to put together a set with the same pile of pieces. But for Star Wars sets, that pretty much ended after 2005. And it's a shame because people now just buy the sets, build them once, and then put them on their shelves to collect dust for all eternity.
So cringe. Guilty.
But that changes today. Thousands of alternate build instructions have been uploaded to sites like Rebrickable, and I've gone and picked out the top 10 alternate builds of all time that I can successfully build for the purpose of this video. Up first is a build using 501st battle packs, which is perfect because I just opened up a bunch of these to build a clone army, and I didn't know what to do with the pieces. But fortunately, Brickular Builds has a ton of free instructions over on his channel, so be sure to check him out in the link below. With just 2 501st battle packs, you can create an entire Republic fighter tank, quite possibly better than the Republic fighter tank that LEGO made. Okay, it's not perfect. Like most of these alternate builds, it's a little fragile, but you can fit 2 drivers inside and a gunner on top. It's very nicely shaped, the nose of the tank is angled downwards, and the parts usage for the viewports are perfect. I also love the greebling and the side details using those stud launchers for something a little more productive than shooting out your eye. The fin elements are also great for shaping, but these here are only connected by a single clip, so opening and closing is not optimal. You also can't really get into the interior without taking the entire top section apart, but overall, I love the look of this tank and I would highly recommend giving it a try to add a little firepower to your 501st clone army. But what's better than one fighter tank? A fighter tank and a gunship, which you can build by using 2 of the official LEGO Republic fighter tank sets. Yes, I'm taking a tank and making it into another tank. But you also get a dropship, which is pretty neat. The build only took about an hour and a half, and it comes together really nicely. The only missing pieces are the windshields, and I think if you use either an X-Wing windshield or the Mandalorian Starfighter windshield piece, that should suffice. This ship does leave a little to be desired, however, when it comes to detail, as it just kind of reminds me of like a Velcro sneaker for some reason. I don't know, maybe it's the curved elements and all the black and white, but where it lacks in style, it's made up for with functionality, because this dropship can carry a tank. It also fits nicely onto this hideous Technic structure and is held on with a pin so it doesn't fall off the back. It's very sturdy, and that's partially because of all the large pieces used in the sets. As for the play features, the front guns don't really move much, but you can place figures inside the cockpit and even store weaponry up top or maybe even in this bottom section as well. The tank here is rather small and stout, but looks pretty good. To access the interior, you kind of have to just break off the entire side panel, but then you're able to fit 2 beautiful figures inside so that you have a tank driver and a gunner. And the guns are only held on by a stud, so they probably sound like this. Pew pew! Considering the fact that you can build all of this with just 2 sets is pretty neat, especially when the best part of the official LEGO set is low-key the 187th Clone Troopers. I mean, those are alone worth more than the actual retail price of the set, so I could see a lot more play value in this alternate build rather than just having 2 of the official LEGO tanks. Now that we're on the topic of gunships, I think my favorite gunship alternate build is this one, using a whopping 4 501st battle packs and a good 4 hours of build time. This highly detailed model is the complete opposite of the one that we just looked at, because every brick you see on this one, there's about 6 bricks used on this one. Due to the fact that the pieces in the set are just so small, it does make for a highly detailed build, but it is extremely difficult to make solid connections and platforms. In fact, the first 40 steps of the build are extremely fragile because you're just layering 1x4 plates to try and make a base. I will say though, I was pretty blown away by some of the build techniques in this ship, which are just so brilliant and also help to reinforce the weaker attachment points. The building process on this was pretty tough, and I got super tired because of how many small pieces there were to sort through and how carefully you have to build it. But an energy drink later, I was able to get through it, and this thing looks insane. I would recommend trying this considering all the other gunships are super expensive right now, and this does look pretty slick next to a clone army. Now as for the play features, you can fit 2 pilots into the cockpit, which are a bit difficult to access and the bottom one always falls off, but you'll notice that these elements used for the AT-RT legs are built upside down, which is a brilliant technique. The front laser cannons look pretty good with those disc elements, making it look kind of ball-shaped. The side guns are also literally guns, as there's no alternate bubble element in the 501st battle pack. Now the doors do swing open, again with just a single attachment point, but it's actually functional and you can fit clone troopers inside. I love the parts usage on the bay doors and the stud launchers again making themselves useful on top. For the back of the vehicle, there is a ridiculously overpowered rear turret for the most optimal crop dusting, and just above that another laser cannon to seal the deal. The top side missiles can fold into the center, and the engines and cannons are definitely a bit small, but they do the job. The wings are definitely the most fragile, and I was shocked that you could even build wings with the parts available. So I gotta say, I'm super impressed with this model and pretty proud of my hard work of putting it together, even though I didn't even design it. Okay, now let's try putting 2 more of these sets together to build the ultimate tricycle walker of Star Wars, the all-terrain attack pod. This 3-legged walker is already pretty top-heavy, and with these pieces, it's going to be even more so. I had a very difficult time building this set, and despite having some pretty cool techniques built in, I actually failed. I definitely freestyled my own solution for the side panel connections, and I didn't have enough pieces to do the same thing on the other side, and it's, well, wobbly at best. I don't really love what I've done here. Most things are at an angle, so they don't line up very well. The back of it is ultra detailed, although it does just feel like a bit of a cliff. I tried to reinforce the 3rd leg underneath with a bar and some washers and bricks, and that worked for a while, but for some reason today, this thing just won't stand up. I also beefed up the legs a little bit more, and the back legs hang on just fine. It's really this front leg that's the issue because the whole entire model actually tilts forward. I think with a little bit more work into it, you could turn this into a pretty stable walker, but for now, I'm gonna consider this a fail. So since 3 legs didn't work out so well, let's try 6 legs with another 4 501st battle packs. Let's build an ATTE, the All-Terrain Tactical Enforcer, and let me tell you guys, this is where fatigue really started to hit me, because not only had I been building for over 8 hours at this point, opening up 4 more of these sets meant that I had gone through 12 battle packs, and the pieces were really starting to look the same. So I had a quick shopping break, and you can too with the sponsor of today's video, Rakuten. And right now, if you sign up using my link in the description below, you can get $40 back after spending $40 or more on anything, anywhere. But to narrow it down for you, go to Walmart or Target and pick yourself up some Legos like the Mandalorian Starfighter, the TIE Fighter, or the AAT, because I'm going to show you some really cool alternate builds for those in just a minute. Not only will you get $40, but Rakuten's also running some insane cashback offers around the holidays, where you get money back in your account just for using Rakuten. It's that simple, so sign up today. Now back to the ATTE. A smaller version of the ATTE, but is it mightier? Well, not exactly. It does look insanely cool from select angles, it's just that if a leg comes detached, the rest of the legs will likely buckle under the weight. And to reattach them, it's a bit difficult. You kind of have to pick up the entire model and slowly put them back into the studs. Furthermore, the paneling is really only held on by 2 studs on either side, so if you knock off one part of it, well, good luck getting that back together. For this one, a few additional pieces outside of the battle packs would seriously help to reinforce the panels, and at that point you're probably just better off reworking a lot of the build. Now some of the cool things are the feet, which I think look great, the front driver's seat, which really plays the part, and the laser cannon, which is just massive despite it only being held on by a single stud. The entire nest here has a gunner seat and a spot for the turret, and that just looks insane. Also, all of the grills along the back section of this look insanely clean, but in terms of actually using it, opening it up, and playing with it, you're gonna have a really hard time loading troops into the walker, and that kind of defeats the purpose for me. Veering away from battle packs entirely, let's take a whole new look at quite possibly one of my favorite alternate builds of any set on shelves right now, and that is the $40 budget TIE Fighter. It's much smaller and more dense than its predecessors, but transforming this TIE Fighter into a TIE Interceptor was probably the most rewarding thing I've done all week, just because it's using parts from one set and just changes up the final look. And to me, this looks so much cooler than the original TIE Fighter. The triangular angled wings are just more menacing. There's actually a couple ways that you can build them, and I went for this free version, which I thought looked a little bit cleaner. I also paid $1.50 for these instructions, and I'm happy to do that because it helps compensate the designer for being pretty brilliant. So I encourage you guys to try buying some LEGO instructions at some point too. I mean, this set itself is only $32, and it comes with 3 minifigures, so if you don't have it yet, definitely get it and build it like this. Another really cool alternate build for a single set is recreating Plo Koon's Jedi Starfighter from the Mandalorian Starfighter. Now hear me out, the set is like $50 on Amazon, but you could make that back if you sell off the minifigures. The only problem is that the instructions were through this video and I had to keep pausing and playing to follow along with. I'm not entirely sure where the PDF instructions are, if they exist, but I managed to get it done and I really like the results. Now I did modify a few things like adding this fin on the back, some clips on the side to hold accessories, and I removed the landing gear, which I thought made it sit up too high. Because the wings are only attached to the pins on the back here, they kept separating away from the nose of the ship. I used some ball pins and joint pieces to prevent them from slouching, which I guess is kind of illegal since they are completely connected. But hey, at least it works and I can sleep at night, okay? The top design does look really cool too because there are so many triangular tiles in this set, and it also has the perfect windshield piece, so turning a Starfighter into a slightly smaller and different Starfighter actually isn't that difficult. Now getting back onto the ground, let's go way back to Episode 1's Trade Federation multi-troop transport. LEGO made MTTs from Episode 1 in the year 2000, 2007, and 2014, but the only time they ever released a blue Separatist version was in this polybag. So, to pair with the Separatist AAT from Clone Wars Season 7, let's put two of these sets together and build a better set. Now the Armored Assault Tank that LEGO made was heavily criticized for having too long of a cannon, but it's really not a bad set and comes with some fantastic parts to make a multi-troop transport. And this baby can hold 16 battle droids, which is insane because it's only 2/3 of the size of the official LEGO versions. It also looks fantastic and should definitely be on your list of must-try LEGO Star Wars alternate builds. There are sliders on the bottom and large bumper pieces. You'll find that there are hidden weapons in almost every compartment, as the interior is just chock full of droids. The front of the vehicle has these weapons which are held on by clips, and I love the usage of the rounded elements here that really resemble the real thing. The front does open up from the top and the bottom with a pull tab to bring out the first 8 battle droids. Pretty tight fit, so they can't hold blasters, but there are 2 clips above for blasters to be held there. The back also opens up, giving you another 6 battle droids and 2 blasters, and 4 more blasters attached to the top hatch. The last 2 battle droids are hidden inside the back panel in the top section, where these poor droids are inhumanely stuck to some studs and shoved in the vehicle. It's such a clean build through and through, and it actually functions and looks good, so I'm gonna keep this for my own droid army. They need all the help they can get.
Guess I'm the commander now.
Also, this set is only $32 on Amazon, and the 332nd Trooper alone sells for $25 on sites like Mercari, so you could get 2 of these sets, and basically for $15 build yourself an MTT. Closing in on the last 2 builds here, I had to make a decision, because there were so many more alternate builds that I wanted to try, so let me know if you want to see a part 2 in the comments below, and if you have some ideas for me. I still had 2 more Republic Fighter tank sets that I had taken clones out for my army, so I decided to try one more gunship with the parts from those 2 sets. And let me tell you, this second gunship attempt with these parts turned out so much better. This set is way more robust, and you could actually play with it. It has a cool wing design and tons of space in the troop bay, overhead storage for the plunders of your enemies, large engines and front laser cannons, and yes, I did have to steal another X-Wing shield piece. Again, I think the Mando Starfighter shield looks better, so you might want to stock up on those if you're going to do some alt builds. And with a few parts from your collection, you could really jazz this thing up. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to our final alternate build of the day. Oh shoot, I just made a mess, which totally shocked me because I was not expecting it to be this sturdy or fun to build. And that's because it was an alternate build with 4 more 501st battle packs. I know, this guy's relentless. And fun fact, did you know that there are more alternate builds out of this set than any other LEGO set ever? Prove me wrong, I'll wait. For our final build, I decided to do an ARC 170 Starfighter. Now you've got 2 pilot seats, a rear gunner seat with a brick-built section that's kind of reminiscent of an astromech, and similar to the gunship, they use the same elements for the cockpit, which do make it a little bit hard to access without having to remove the piece altogether. The engines and the split wings are what makes this Starfighter really stand out, and the designer did such a good job of using parts from this set to make something that not only holds itself together well, but seriously looks the part. The wings are pretty solid, and the flaps are held stationary using a handlebar piece and a bunch of these tool elements clipped on so the flaps can be held in place. So super nice parts usage. The engines also utilize some upside down building techniques to get a rounded look from the top to the bottom. You've also got rear cannons and wing laser cannons, and lastly there is landing gear to keep the pressure off the wing flaps. The one weakness of the set though is the nose, which kind of falls a little bit short and is only secured by 4 studs, so it does tend to pop off when you're trying to open up the cockpit. But the ARC 170 is a pretty uncommon starfighter, so seeing this alternate build just really takes me back to the Clone Wars days. And now that I've used 16 501st battle packs, I have 5 insane alternate builds that look, oh my gosh. If this doesn't inspire you, then go watch all 7 seasons of Clone Wars right now. But either way, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe because I spent an entire week building these sets and it was exhausting. But I now have a newfound appreciation for LEGO instructions and 10 more sets that I don't know what to do with since, oh my gosh, I have all this shelf space. But it's never enough, so comment your least favorite build and watch me drop them in the next video. Okay, that's all, bye.